Awesome. So I'm glad to have everybody here. Um, Today we're going to be talking about something that's incredibly crucial. Um, Going to be talking about trust, how to build it, how to maintain it, how to, essentially um, foster that sort of environment of trustworthiness, especially in a club setting or a even just a group setting. So yeah, let's get started. All right, so we just did the introduction. So let's kind of go through what we're going to talk about today. First, we're going to tackle what is trust, kind of a dictionary versus what you guys think it is, the benefits of building trust, factors influencing it, building it from day one, leadership's role in trust building, which will kind of tackle a few things, and sustaining trust over time. And apologies in advance, I will be saying the word trust a lot in this presentation. So, all right. So, what is trust? What is it to you guys? Uh, would you guys be able to either unmute or type it into the chat? Um, what trust means to everyone here?
I think that trust means like being able to depend on somebody or their
Y-
word.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Anybody else? I can't really see the chat in this because it takes up my whole screen, but
Someone said that trust is having confidence,
yeah,
is having confidence in someone that they will do as they say.
definitely. Yeah. Being able to feel, that confidence in whether it's a friend or a leader or just parents or any sort of situation, it's vital.
Another person said firm belief in the reliability of someone.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Those are all
Mhm.
great. All right. So the dictionary definition is a lot of what you guys said. Reliance on the integrity, strength, ability, surety, etc. of a person or a thing, which is boils down to confidence. And what trust really does is it really fosters a sense of security in your group or individuals, and it really allows members of your club or organization to express their ideas, their thoughts, their feelings freely without fear of being judged or really like retaliation, because they're thinking that. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, their own thoughts and beliefs and stuff. So being able to be in that environment where you can be your truest self is what we strive for, right? And when members of a club or even just friends or family or whichever the situation is trust each other and their leadership, they're more likely and more able to contribute actively and collaborate better and really remain cohesive and committed to your club or, you know, your main objective, right? So let's move into section 2, which is the benefits of building trust. Oops, I have an empty bullet point there. So, the benefits of building trust is really within a club, it has several key benefits. It really enhances the teamwork that is going on. Um, Members, when they trust each other, they are more likely to collaborate efficiently, share responsibilities and support each other's efforts without hesitation, right? And when you have strong leadership, when you have strong confidence in your team as well as your leadership, there's not a lot of second guessing because everyone is, very comfortable and they're open to um, to share everything equally and being vulnerable. Um, Sometimes we may take that for granted, being vulnerable and being open, and it's really, the gift that keeps on giving because you forge these really strong relationships with these people, and it really opens the door to a lot of like honest communication and transparency. And when you're honest and transparent, it really prevents a lot of misunderstandings or misinformation that might go on. And it really increases the membership satisfaction. People come home from a club meeting or they come home from a really good event and they're like, wow, that's great. I want to continue doing this. And it really, in a lot of ways, reduces the turnover rates, meaning you keep people coming back. Turnover is like what happens when you just get a bunch of one time people coming to your events or your clubs. And it really fosters a more engaged and enthusiastic group of people. Um, it contributes to, especially on the leadership level, uh, much smoother decision making processes, right? Because as I said before, you're not second guessing each other. You have like full confidence and trust in your peers or your leadership or whoever, and you're able to, go with what they say because you trust them, right? You're dedicated, and the members really feel a kind of assurance that the people in charge, or however the power structure looks, um, that everyone has the club's best interest at heart. And when trust is like top priority, conflicts that may arise due to like, for example, a flyer that is going to go out to publicity might, someone might want to tweak a few things and the other person, likes it how it is because that's how they created it or whatever. But, trust is it's like a two-way road. A lot of people say like friendship or family is like a two-way road. It requires compromise and vulnerability on both sides for it to work, right? It's not this blind thing that you're like, "Oh, I trust them because they're the leader and they know what they're doing." It's kind of like a little bit of back and forth. And when this is the case of being at the top priority, members are more likely to address things without making it personal. They're able to address them in a constructive manner rather than like, oh, well, this is what I wanted. And, it's not, you're not on the defense, you're just like, okay, I can work with this. This makes sense. I hear what you're saying. So it's an incredibly important. So, some factors that influence trust. So, as I've said before, transparency is crucial. It's key. Being honest. Leaders should communicate openly about decisions, club finances or, the budget, um, and event planning. It should be kind of a shared knowledge base that everyone has access to or is in the know about. And it's all about keeping people in the loop, because it builds credibility on part of the leadership board, like the exec board, and it prevents a lot of misunderstandings rather than like assumptions. Well, I thought it was going to be this way because no one said anything different, so that's what I thought it was going to be. Kind of avoids those situations. Second factor is reliability. It really plays another significant role because if members and leaders follow through on what they are setting out to do, there's a big event that's going to come up. We're going to spearhead this. We're going to make sure that everything is, you know, going along smoothly, properly. There's no one sort of um, letting stuff hang. Um, it builds a lot of trust when you can kind of, show your work essentially, you know, and consistency, not just doing that a couple of times, but being consistently reliable um, helps out a great deal within trust within the organization or friend group or class group or whichever. So the third factor influencing trust is communication, um, being clear, being honest, and being respectful um, ensures that members really feel heard and validated. Validation is something that's going to, come up again and again to make people feel like they're being seen, that their thoughts and ideas are being heard, and that they're feeling like that they're part of the club, right? And when you have concerns that arise, um, addressing them directly rather than avoiding them maintains trust. Rather than like sweeping out everything underneath the carpet. Um, as the saying goes, it's better to be open and honest about what's going on. So another one is fairness and equity. So the ability to treat everyone in your group the same way, really reinforces that trust because it doesn't really come kind of like trust and favoritism kind of butt heads, you know, and it kind of opens the door for animosity. So being able to treat everyone the same um, really reinforces that feeling of like, okay, this person who's in charge or anyone else, you know, sees me as me, and treats me amicably or friendly, whichever it is. And it can, on the flip side, favoritism can definitely lead to uh, alienation and what we don't want, distrust, because people don't want to be around that sort of environment, right? So, final one is consistency. This kind of goes back with reliability. Being able to maintain consistent behavior and consistent decision making really helps create an environment where the people in your group, whichever it is, a club or family or friends, they feel a sense of security, right? They feel like I'm a piece of the puzzle, you know. And also with that, they know their expectations that are expected of them, for lack of a better word, from the leadership, from fellow group members or friends, from family members, So being able to stay consistent, reliable, all of these things kind of stack on top of each other and they can't kind of work without the other. So definitely you can't have one without the others, essentially. And so with this, with all these factors influencing trust, you have club dynamics because every club has a different set of people. Every club has, people with all walks of life, different backgrounds, different lived experiences, um, very diverse group, um, which can enrich and kind of challenge trust building efforts. So understanding where everybody can fit in helps create an inclusive environment where they feel, again, validated, where they feel like they're part of the club, part of the group, you know. And really, what really helps is by establishing clear roles and responsibilities to make sure that kind of the work or um, labor is well defined and kind of squashes any likelihood of confusion or conflicts. Because when you have this openness, when you have this consistency, this reliability, transparency, you kind of take away a lot of the guesswork when everybody's just open and honest about what they're saying and what they're feeling and what they want the club to be. Um, and it really helps create a place where you want to be in, right? I'm sure we've been to some, you know, been a part of some clubs, maybe in high school, middle school, or even here at CCBC or at another college, where you're like, okay, well, it doesn't, you know, matter if I'm there or not, and it's a good feeling to know because you know that you are saving yourself time, you're saving yourself effort than if you were with like the right people, if that makes sense. You know, finding a place that works for you and with you is just as important as all of these factors that contribute to trusting everybody within your group and trusting the leadership. I hope that makes sense. Okay. And when we get these different groups, we have different leadership styles, right? We have, kind of top down, there's a clear, you know, person at the top, and then there's someone at the bottom. Sometimes it's more equitable, and, everybody does equal sharing with the exec board. Sometimes it's like working like for, a larger purpose. So, whatever it is, all these leaderships and communication preferences can really bridge the gap, mend any things that can go wrong, and really create a very harmonious club atmosphere, right? Which is the goal, to create a place that people want to come to and keep coming back to, and where you feel a sense of like personal satisfaction, right? So when you acknowledge and celebrate differences within the club, it really helps with strengthening relationships, helps members develop mutual respect and understanding. It really builds trust. And it's not, I don't say this as like it's an overnight thing. It's a very gradual, not can be as gradual as you want it to be, but sometimes, people don't trust people right away. It takes, 3, 4, 5 different times meeting someone for them to open up and, you know, but like I said, everyone's different. Some people, you know, can open up right away, but it all depends on what your style is. And all of them are perfectly valid and great. Okay. So let's move on to section 4, which is building trust from day one. And this is kind of more geared towards leadership, but it can be applied to other parts in your life. You don't just have to be an exec board member for it to make sense. So, first impressions are important, but they don't exactly, it's not the end all be all. But certainly when we have like Connect Fest, when we have the first meetings of of the semester, whether it's fall or spring, people notice, when they come up to your table, or if they come up you know, to your meeting, are you creating a welcoming and inclusive environment, Um, but also on the flip side, to really see something, um, and see how it actually is, um, I would suggest going to multiple, because, everybody, once they get settled in, it can really make the difference. And so, some tips, some ideas, icebreakers, and team building activities really help and inspire people in the group to really get to know one another. And it kind of has this, you know, barrier breaking, or like you're tearing the wall down, or, and you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable. Um, I don't know. I'm in the unpopular category where I enjoy icebreakers whenever I get them in class, because I'm like, okay, I get a chance to show who I am, and then I get to see what other people are like, especially the really tough icebreakers that aren't just like, what's your favorite animal, even though those can be fun too, because sometimes people might have a story behind them. Um, so yeah, it's important to really find that place where you're able to do that, where you're able to form those personal connections. And from day one, really defining the club's mission and their goals and your expectations from the jump really helps people in the club understand everything that they have to do, right? Because if you're trying to do events throughout the semester, and it's kind of like I wouldn't say messy, but an disorganized um, planning, everyone's going to be scrambling to be like, oh, what should we be doing? What can I be doing? You know, so it really helps to set it from day one. Okay, this is what we have to do. This is the event we have in March. This is one we have in April. This is one we have in May, maybe. Um, but it's really important to get that started from the jump, because showing a display of like, oh, we know what this club is about, right? As a new member, I'm coming into this place, oh, they know what they're about, they know what they're doing. It kind of instills a confidence in me, like, oh, I I want to be up to the plate, I want to be up to bat and be able to really participate and be a part of this. So kind of setting expectations like that really helps newer members have like a sense of purpose within the group, right? Which again builds a lot of that trust, because it's something mutually beneficial, right? We're having a club event, but we want you to help out with it, So this person's getting event planning, you know, um, experience, and then we're also going to have a fun event, whether it's, right now honors is having a bingo and brunch here at Dundalk, and so it takes time for those to from the idea, from the execution, from the all the planning steps, and different people were involved in different parts of that, so it's really fulfilling to see something like that happen, that's just born out of an idea, and events like that, events like Connect Fest, events like anything else, you know any of these successful events really happen because of a lot of trust the within the organization or club or um, group that is pulling it together. And so that was a lot on that one. But when we provide an accessible platform for new people to come in and tell us what they're thinking, ask questions, kind of builds, on the flip side, it builds confidence in the leadership, side of things of their members, right? So it's like we got new people coming in, they want to know how we work. It really gives the leadership a chance to show how open they can be, how responsive they can be, and maybe some idea that you could have. I know it happens in some clubs and organizations, but having like seasoned members and newcomers come together, pair up, and really kind of mentor each other or mentor, the newer members to really help integrate and ingratiate the new people, smoothly into the club without being like thrown into the deep end, right? Kind of see how it's going. And then when you go to your next meeting, you're like, oh, there's this person that's been there for 3, 4 semesters or 2 semesters or however long, and then they know someone, and then it kind of helps them, you know, trust all the other members too. And so with this, you get effective communication. And so when people really actively listen, it's a really critical skill that helps create this sense of trust, as it really kind of helps every member feel heard and validated, right? And if you're unaware of what active listening is, it's, you know, nodding your head, eye contact, saying yes, or, asking relevant questions, being really in tuned to whoever's talking, and really showing that you're actually listening, so that's just in case no one. But really encouraging this idea of an open and honest dialogue where it's like a free transmission of information between everybody about anything. It could be ideas, concerns, feedback, way things that they've seen at previous clubs that they've been a part of, what might work here. And it really promotes this transparency and inclusivity that we've been talking about. Um, so ways to do this is like regular meetings, check-ins with newer members, especially, and forums. Having like an open dialogue of, you know, how we can keep these activities going on. What would you guys like to see for the future? Or in your club constitution, what would you like to add to it? Because, all of these things are equally important. And it's good to use something that works for your club or organization, but also have multiple communication channels, whether it's email or social media groups like WhatsApp or Instagram or Discord or Facebook Messenger, whatever it is, as well as in-person meetings, if it's that type of um, if it's that type of club, because I know there are some virtual clubs. But all of this together really helps all members stay connected, stay a part of the web, this web of people that you're now a part of, and it keeps them engaged. You know, Having a clear and concise instructions for how to do, an event planning, how to do a flyer, really going back to this idea of open and honest conversation really gives way to takes a lot of the guesswork out of like what needs to be going on, like misinterpretations go out the window, you know and it really helps everybody understand what their responsibility is and what is expected of them. So effective communication is extremely crucial, as well as conflict resolution. I don't want to talk too much about conflict resolution, because there will be a sort of a longer form leadership lunch, um, talking about problem solving, but I will touch upon it here. Um, you can't really as much as we would like, conflicts and problems will come up, you know, but it's not the fact that they did happen because they are inevitable, but it's how they're fixed, how they're talked through, how they're, managed kind of determines whether like it could be, increased trust, strengthened, or kind of weaken or lessen the trust that we have in whether it's, the exec board or the members. Um, so it's all about, you know, establishing, a resolution process, what we like to call it. And it helps members, anybody, address whatever issues they may have constructively rather than reacting emotionally. Like I talked about earlier, instead of being on the defense, you're kind of being like, okay, I can take this in constructively. They're not attacking me, you know, kind of talk through it, rationally. But encouraging respectful as well as calm discussions, allows everybody to express their concerns. And maybe you could have a mediator, like a neutral person, maybe an outside person conducting, whatever is going on, you know, and it can help you guys um, get through disputes uh, fairly and amicably. Okay. Okay. So let's move into the fifth one of leadership's role in trust building. So, as I've said before, leaders really set the tone for trust within the organization. You know, they're the actions that they do, the decisions that they make, and how they speak to people really influence how people in the group of the club or friends or organization, whatever it is, perceive how the club actually is. And so if you demonstrate like an ethical decision making process, that's kind of impartial and not just based on what X person wants to do, kind of makes the people in the group feel confident in, the president or vice president or treasurer, whoever's making, decisions on for that event or whatever it is to guide the club not only fairly but responsibly, like not spending all of, I mean, unless you want to, but if you want to have a lot of events, then you kind of tailor your budget so that you can fit all of those in, right? And if you're having like events that you really want to have, then kind of be open to that feedback. um, being approachable, also being accessible, like being able to be reached and be like, oh, I haven't heard from them in 5 days to answer my email, kind of tears away at that reliability that I've mentioned before. Um, but doing this means that people in the group can voice whatever they're thinking or whatever concerns they have or ideas or plans without hesitation. It strengthens these relationships between leadership and just the general members, right? As well as existing members, new members, prospective members, anybody, you know. And so what we want to do is lead by example, right? Lead in a way in which we follow through on commitments. If we are going to make these, big ideas and big events, then it would be good if you could, kind of follow through on that, and being able to be, uh, to have some humility and like admit mistakes when things go wrong, um, really helps show people that, you're a person too, and that they can be vulnerable with it if they're seeing you be vulnerable. It really builds this trust, it builds accountability, and it also builds authenticity, right? Because we want to be our authentic selves. We want to hold ourselves accountable, you know. And so if you have a participatory leadership model where people in the group can have a say in what's going on, have a say in the decision making process, or what type of food we're going to have at this event, or what type of, you know, make and takes, or whatever it could be. It really builds this confidence internally and externally. And it really builds this inclusivity, which is so important within the club, right? So, how can we sustain trust over time? Do you guys have any questions so far? I know I've been talking for a while. If you'd like to unmute or type it in the chat. No questions? Okay. We'll move into the last part, which is sustaining trust over time. Trust building, like I've said before, is not an overnight thing. And it's not the type of thing that once you have it, you're done. That's like the cap at which you get to. It's an ongoing process that requires effort and a lot of reinforcement, and it's incredibly important, you know, because it's not just going to be important in a club setting or an organization setting or a family setting. It's going to be important, especially as you move into the workforce, or if you continue your education, or just really in life, And so being able to have regular feedback sessions really allows people in the club to share what's going on, you know, what's going on, and it really improves. And the club evolves over time because new people come in, exec board people may leave. And so it's kind of like this blob of, interchangeable parts of people and trust and, leadership that really you have to, you know, keep working at, you know. But it's not like, when I say work, it's not like hard, like laborious, it could be. I don't want to speak for everybody, but it's like a labor of love sort of thing, if that makes sense. It's about like keeping an open dialogue with people. And a way we can do this is by like recognizing people in the club for what they've done, be like at the end of the semester, be like, so and so was really great. I loved what they did with this event or this flyer, or how they did a lot of outreach, you know, stuff like that. It really forces us into this, appreciation and belonging, and reinforces the value of every single person in the group. Because like I said, it's like a puzzle, all of this can't work without the other, right? And so if you're continuously revisiting and refining club policies, really helps, because it ensures that they align with whatever membership needs you have at that point, whatever organizational goals you have, you know. So if you run like a certain club and you want to have, a workshop, and that's a great way for, a lot of club cohesion activities to happen, a lot of skills that can be honed over time. And it sustains a healthy and trusting club environment. And so, with that, I ask everybody, what are your thoughts? I'll go back into Zoom so I can see the thing. Let me stop sharing. Am I still sharing?
No.
No? Okay, cool. So let me read these. Trust is having confidence in someone that they will do as they say. Firm belief. Oh yeah, that was really on. No questions. I'm just excited about what I'm going to learn. Yeah. This presentation was well done. Thank you so much. Do you guys have any last minute thoughts or ideas or
I think that this was a good,
concerns?
I
Yeah,
think that this
I can
was a
slide to
good,
that.
can you hear me?
Yes, now I can. Yeah.
I think that this was a good presentation. I think for learning leadership within the club and for a personal growth. I
Thank
think
you.
that's what I was looking for, like, you know, how to build trust with how can I exhibit these things, personally and within a group. So I think it was very good. I took a lot of notes, so thank
Thank you. I appreciate that.
you.